Greetings, what is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 game fresh from the ladder featuring spawning in the south of the Overcommand West forces of PFC. And spawning in the north, it'll be the Soviet forces of Stop. So, I've been told recently, I cast a game recently on the channel featuring PFC, and somebody mentioned in the comments that it was not the real PFC. Now, I don't actually know how one would tell the difference. I did ask, but I haven't had a reply yet, so I guess there's a chance that this is not the real PFC. Apparently there is one or more players playing on the ladder these days who do fancy borrowing people's names, and that's fine. I mean, if the system allows people to borrow other people's screen names or type in something which is basically the same, then there is, to some extent, a strategic advantage in doing so. It obviously means that people might think that you're going to play a certain way or favour certain tactics or play a certain style, when of course you're not that player. So, you know, if I went onto the ladder and, well, I mean, let's suppose that I was a top tier player, that I actually had the skill and ability, and I went on the ladder and I played with, like, the tag Jove or Helping Hands or Von Ivan. I actually expect people might try and do certain things or anticipate certain strategies from me, and that would obviously not be accurate. So, yep, whoever this is, I mean, I'm hoping it's PFC, I'm assuming it's PFC, but yeah, could be somebody else under the alias. So, as these players move out onto the map, looks like we've got Rifle Command opening here for the Soviet player, moving into what looks like a sort of penal clown car build. One moment. Oh, sorry, just clearing my throat there. Yeah, looks like we've got a clown car opening here for Stop PFC. We're going to see what his tech is momentarily. He's up to 3 squads of Volks right now, making a brave push to get his opponent's cut off here. But yeah, whilst these two players do sort of navigate the early stages, these opening engagements here of the game, I'm just going to take a moment to say, has been busy times for me recently. Work is busy, I've got a busy social life as well, so I mean, I find time to cast each day, but finding much more time than just to throw open Company of Heroes and do a little sort of a couple of battles or whatever has been difficult. But as soon as I do have the time, I'll be doing some stuff like making these spoiler videos that should hopefully stop the video length from being a spoiler for battles, and also hashing out some of this MTG related content that I've sort of been mooting for a while. So yeah, I haven't forgotten about these things. It's just a matter of actually having the time, because there's a certain amount of sort of preparation and organization and things like that needs to go into making new content. I mean, by new content, I mean content of a new format. Whereas making content like this, you know, I already have all of my OBS profiles, I have everything set up, and it's very easy for me to just open Company of Heroes 2 and fire off into casting a game. Whereas for making the MTG like content, well, I've been thinking quite a lot about what sort of format that content might take and things, but it's not all finalized, and there's just more sort of, how can I put it, there's more like thinking time that needs to go into it before I can just start creating videos for that just yet. So that's why at the moment we're mostly seeing sort of daily, or as close as I can get to daily, Company of Heroes 2 battles, and I hope that you're all enjoying that. I certainly enjoy casting Company of Heroes 2. It's a great time to be casting this game, and I'm having a blast with it on a daily basis. It's definitely one of the high points of my day. I really do enjoy coming on here and seeing what's going on the ladder. So yeah, just I thought, you know, suffice to say, there are wheels turning, but for now, until I get a little bit of free time, you know, this week could actually be good for it. We'll have to see how it pans out. First couple of days looking busy, but come Wednesday, Thursday, I might actually have some free time for once. So we shall see. Oh yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about actually, and it would be a bit of a departure, but so RTS and Magic the Gathering actually have quite a lot in common. For those of you who aren't familiar with both, you'll just have to take my word on that. But part of the reason I do enjoy both Magic the Gathering, this could be a squad wipe actually. Part of the reason I do enjoy both Magic the Gathering, wow, nice squad wipe. Part of the reason I do enjoy Magic the Gathering and RTS is because they do have a lot in common. They sort of, in a weird way, are different manifestations of the same, of something that I really like. But I do play other video games, and it has occurred to me that I could bring some of that to to the channel and to my Twitch. I don't know how you guys feel about the Division 2, but I do actually play a medium amount of the Division 2, and it is really quite fun. There are quite a lot of sort of cerebral situations you find yourself in. I don't tend to just sort of do the standard Division 2 things. I really like sort of finding my own groove in that game and like trying to take other players by surprise, and do nefarious things. So I don't know. Let me guys know your thoughts. That would be quite a departure from the channel. The Division is a very different kind of game, and whilst there are many interesting decisions, the actual sort of visual element of the game, it does predominantly look like dudes running around shooting each other. So, I don't know. I'm in two minds. I'm not quite sure that that's really suitable for the channel, to be honest, but I don't know. It's just been on my mind. It's a thing that I spend some time on, and if you guys are interested, then do let me know, and I could think about bringing some Division to the channel. That would be fairly easy to do, because I could just kind of start with streaming my play sessions and then think about making some videos based on that for the channel afterwards. So I don't know. There's that. Also, later on in the year, Pokemon comes out in like 2.5 weeks for the Nintendo Switch, and I will be playing the pants off of that. And I do actually have a video adapter. Oh my goodness, this is getting so bad for the OKW player. I do have a video adapter for my Switch, so I could very easily cast my progress through Pokemon. That would be super doable. And, okay, I mean, yes, Pokemon has like a really childish veneer on it, and it is quite cartoony, and it is a little bit out there, but at its core, what the game of Pokemon is, again, it's a game of tactics and strategy and decision-making. The core of the Pokemon game, of course, is a turn-based combat sort of environment, where you have a vast roster of potential pieces and ways to customize those pieces. And it is actually really entertaining and really deep, and I do very much enjoy, or at least I used to back in the day, I used to really enjoy matchmaking in Pokemon on my 3DS, because it's just so damn good. Now, if there's anything like that kind of thing going on in the new Pokemon, which I have to imagine that there will be, then I reckon Pokemon could be a good one to cast. Now, obviously that sort of content isn't going to be for everybody. There are some people just for whom the cartoony graphics and the anime style is just too much of a barrier for entry, and even if the game was as fast, diverse, and nuanced as Company of Heroes 2, they just wouldn't be interested because it just looks kind of crazy. But I don't know. Yeah, there's the possibility of that. And then in December, MechWarrior 5 is coming out, and if that is any good, I will be playing that like a fiend. It looks like it's the MechWarrior game everyone's always wanted. If it delivers, I will definitely be making some videos on that. I am something of an old hand when it comes to the MechWarrior universe. I've been playing since MechWarrior 2. I have a little bit of experience at Battletech. I just very much enjoy the game, and that is a game very much like Company of Heroes 2, where there's a lot of interesting decisions. It's played out in real time, and it's just a very interesting... There's a reason for everything that happens in that game, and it's very interesting to follow it through. So, I don't know. This is just me thinking out loud about sort of stuff I may or may not be doing on the channel in the future. For now, like I say, it's really easy, and I do just really enjoy coming on and casting Company of Heroes. But I think I would do, you know, I have this feeling like I do want to evolve and do new things. I think it'll be interesting for everyone who watches. I think it'll be interesting for me. And I think it's kind of important that I do keep exploring new stuff and like growing and developing. I think the clown car just got taken out, or did the building just fall down? I don't know, something just exploded. What's going on there? Not sure. Yeah. I suppose one other thing that, since I'm just having a bit of a talk about the general state of stuff that's going on at the moment, one other thing that has been on my mind is, I never really talk about this. In fact, probably I should make a video all about this. Yeah, I'm just going to do this in a separate video. That's actually a really good idea. So, haha, suspense, mysteriousness. Don't worry about that. Hey, guys, we've got the Sturm offizier on the field. It's a rare game. Let's turn our attention to the game now. Let's get into Company of Heroes 2 mode. There's been 9 minutes of Magpie talking rubbish. So let's get into the Company of Heroes 2. We've got a Sturm offizier on the field. Now, I'm going to have to refresh myself about what this guy actually does. Target them. Units will focus their fire on a specified target, shooting to kill. Enemy units affected by this ability are easier to hit. Very nice, 40 munitions. Force retreat. A combination of fear and fire forces the enemy unit to fall back. The sight of their comrades forcing back. Okay, so you can make an enemy unit force back at the expense of buffing other enemy units around it and 60 munitions. And he can throw a smoke grenade. So, okay, cool. Storm Offizier build here, going to be Breakthrough Doctrine, of course. Looks like it's going to be the Urban Defense Tactics commander here from the Soviet player, so a nice, competent all-rounder. That's why we've got the M42 AT guns out on the field. This has been a really brutal early game for PFC, to be fair. Suffering as he has a number of squad wipes, but, you know, this Panzer II has been also getting some pretty daring in-base raids performed here. So he has, to some extent, been given as good as he's getting, and we find ourselves now around about the 10.5-minute mark with a composition where it's like Panzer II, good infantry, beginning of mid-game, versus also good infantry, double AT gun. So somehow, despite having some brutalities inflicted on him in the early game, PFC navigating himself through to a point here where the game feels more or less at parity. He's trailing a little bit in the scoreline, but not too bad. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I wonder if the presence of the Jagdtiger has informed his choice on this map. I don't think it has, but this is one of those maps that's so small. The Jagdtiger can basically shoot anything on this map just by being somewhere near the middle of the map, so could be quite dominating as this game goes on. Of course, it's not particularly great against infantry, so I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Axis forces here punching through, trying to get the cutoff, and that they will. That will be thanks to the breakthrough tactics. Did you see how fast that decapped? Absolutely wonderful stuff here. And PFC taking the majority of the field. There are Soviet forces being active on the field, but it's just not quite enough right now. Stop finds himself in danger of being stopped here. He's in a horrifying position. PTRSs are beginning to pop up on some of these guards, but where's this Panzer II? Okay, that's being repaired. This is seemingly quite a desperate battle for both players. Like, the Axis player, most of his units are in retreat. He has got the smaller roster. I feel like he's kind of had the worst early game. But the onboard position, like, look at the minimap. The table looks dire for Stop here. Finds himself under a horrendous amount of duress, gasping for any kind of income, really. And yeah, so we've got a very interesting early game where somehow both of the players have navigated it to a point where they kind of appear to be an even match for each other. So strange. Didn't expect to see the game look this way. Honestly, I kind of felt like PFC might have left the game around about the 5-6 minute mark when things were looking super bad for him. But yeah, we've gotten through that. Schwerpanzer HQ going to finish just now, just to the west of the, the east of the Axis base. I imagine we'll be seeing the Panzer Authority get chosen here momentarily on that one. There it is. So gearing himself up for a choice out of a Schwerpanzer HQ once he gathers a bit more fuel here is PFC. Possibility, of course, of going for the Obersoldat, and there are some mines just behind this Panzer II, so that's a problem. There is a metal detector on the Axis roster, and it is in the in the hood actually, and he is defusing mines. So well, just not quite in the right place at the right time. There is definitely a universe where that metal detector found those mines and the Panzer II was saved. We're not living in that timeline though, and that's a real problem for PFC. He really wishes he had some sort of Rick and Morty-esque portal gun right now, because this is looking pretty bad. Now that he doesn't have the Panzer II, you know what, actually? Losing that Panzer II, not quite as... Whoa, demo charge. He could get a squad wipe here. That should be a squad wipe. There's so many bullets. So many bullets. How is this guy alive? Okay, finally he dies. So, yeah, okay, this is actually not as bad for PFC as I thought, because, okay, he loses the Panzer II, and the Panzer II was very useful against his opponent's infantry. However, a substantial part of this Soviet roster is anti-tank guns, these two M42s. If you take off the M42s, just like, you know, hold your fingers over them, just imagine they're not there. His opponent is basically fighting with 2 squads of Penals and 2 squads of Engineers against Storm Pioneers, 3 squads Volks, and a Storm Offizier. That's definitely a fair fight. I know we've got a T-70 coming now, but now that there's no vehicle for these AT guns to actually shoot at, they sort of fall off this roster a little bit, and this core of Axis infantry has been somehow coping as this game has gone on. Now, I would love to see PFC mix in something else. He's going to go for an MG34, which I do like, but there's a T-70 coming out on the field right now, so actually I sort of hope that he's able to see this, cancel this, and get a Kettenwerfer or Panzer Fusiliers with a view to getting some Shreks on them. So, yeah. There's got to be some sort of early game wisdom for like Axis players, where if they don't buy Panzer Shreks for their infantry, then they'll get destroyed in the late game. And it could be sort of, you could say Shrekity Shrek yourself before you get wrecked yourself by the Russian. Okay, that wasn't very good. So, okay, yeah, T-70 on the field. Whose mines are these? These are Soviet mines, right? No, that's a shoe mine. And there seems to be no detector in the hood. So actually this T-70 has to be a little bit careful. Shoe mines on this road. MG34 out on the field. There's enough manpower for a Kettenwerfer. We've nearly got enough fuel for a meaningful armoured choice here. I imagine it's going to be a Panzer IV. This is a good map for a Panzer IV. The circumstances are ripe for a Panzer IV. The two M42 AT guns are going to be a severe nuisance to a Panzer IV, but the T-70 represents a lovely target. So, yeah, this is a map on which a Panzer IV can definitely flourish if it takes the right engagements and if PFC is able to play it cautiously and cleverly. Here comes the T-70, going to reveal itself now. MG34 going to have to give way. The Soviet light tank here just going to be able to push that one aside. Volksgrenadiers creeping forwards for a Shrek, but looks like Stop there was cognizant of it. Back the T-70 away, and this is problems now. So Panzer IV is going to be the choice. That does make a lot of sense. I'd love to see him get a Kettenwerfer as well, because he's probably going to need it as this game goes on. Looks like actually no mechanized Campanile for our Soviet player. Ooh, okay, mines here. Looks like PFC kind of baiting the T-70 in here. Oh, it doesn't hit the mines just now. Looks like all of these Axis infantry are going to have to yield this area of the map to Soviet control for now. There is infantry supporting that T-70, so they will be able to start capping some ground here momentarily. And until this Panzer IV comes on the field, the T-70, rather the Kingmaker, there is kind of nothing that answers it, and that's a problem right now. Speaking of problems, Stop needs some more core infantry. Like, dude, he needs some shock troops or some conscripts or some more penals or something. He's making me nervous with just 2 squads of penals and 2 Flammenwerfer toting engineer squads. That is like that is on the low end of what is an acceptable amount of like core pushing infantry to have on the field. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but we'll see. Sturm offizier up to 2 stars. So that guy definitely not been a non-unit this game. Going to be taking a reasonable amount of fire from the T-70 as he falls back, but in no danger of being wiped. Axis forces, supported by an MG34, pushing out in the east of the map, ought to be able to maintain control over his fuel point here momentarily. These Volksgrenadiers can push onto this in a second. They want to be careful, treat this flamethrower with respect, but then they'll be in there. Panzer IV now on the field, going to commit itself over here as well. These engineers in danger of getting wipes now because the Panzer IV can pursue. Okay, if that opening Panzer IV shell killed like 1 or 2 of these engineers, then they would be in severe jeopardy. As it is, they're merely in massive amounts of jeopardy. Yeah, they're probably still going to die. Yep, okay. So yeah, MG42 Pintle Mount going to be finishing up on this tank momentarily, and then it will be quite a murdering machine. And this Soviet roster is just bloody tiny. He needs to buy some more units. He's floating like 500 odd manpower, and I appreciate he's definitely saving it for an armoured choice. You don't have the fuel just now, and you will have the manpower to do both. So I think he needs to take another squad of penals right now, and then move on in this game with a healthy lineup of core infantry. T-70 getting the best of these Volks in mid, but they do manage to exfiltrate safely. Panzer IV still continuing to chip in for damage, getting a little bit eroded down by the AT guns and the PTRSs, kind of annoying, but not the end of the world. Storm Pioneers going to be hooking up with it. 2-star Storm Pioneers with a repair kit, going to be rapid repairs there. Wow, Panzer IV still getting antsy here, still like chipping in, looking for damage here. Shoe mines, remember we've got those shoe mines there. It could play a part in this engagement. Looks like the Soviet line is getting drawn towards this position. And yeah, a bit of a waste to hit some infantry on these mines. That will be so close. Axis forces, though, being active over here. MG34 supporting the Sturm offizier. Going to be crucially grabbing a fuel and a VP. So this painful stuff for the Soviet player to be losing. Soviet player now actually finds himself in the scoreline deficit. 405 under 414. Needs to just spend his money. Okay, shock troops getting added into the roster. Important stuff here. Actually, they are just heading straight into the teeth of an MG34. Not the best, but, you know, maybe they'll be able to get something done. And yeah, I mean, he's still floating a lot of manpower, still floating a lot of fuel. I think an Su-85 would be just fine right now. I mean, it kind of has to be an Su-85, doesn't it? Your opponent already has a Panzer IV, and he's only going to be buying bigger and more scary armoured toys as this game goes on. I don't think a T-34 will just look so soggy right now. It just, I mean, your opponent has a Kettenwerfer and a Panzer IV. Kettenwerfer actually hasn't been scouted by the Soviet player, but you just know that your opponent is prepared. This is not an Axis player who's on the back foot. You're not looking to snowball and push him out the game. This is an Axis player who is well established. And it hasn't had his way all game, but is definitely just doing okay in this game. And then under those circumstances, we've seen time and time again, T-34s just sort of flounder. Axis forces are quite good at killing T-34s as long as they have the right tools to do so. And this is an Axis player who has those tools. Big fight being taken here. Panzer IV getting stuck in, going to be hounding down the anti-tank gun. Does pick it up, so that's nice stuff. The other anti-tank gun getting hounded by infantry. Panzer IV going to overrun and look for the T-70 here. Keep an eye on the health of the T-70 in the top right there. Additional infantry fighting here. MG-34 gets forced back, in danger of getting wiped, actually. The shock troops getting the better end of that one. And, whoa, somehow, where is this Panzer IV? Is it getting pinged down by an... I don't know how its health is so low. And the T-70 is, like, unscathed. Okay, another anti-tank gun got called in. This is why. So he's going to get away with this Panzer IV, as long as he actually gets away with it. You have to keep running. This Panzer IV's so low. Oh my god, he stays around with some extra shots onto these engineers. Would have been brutal if he'd have got them, to be fair. But he's actually not going to right now. Kettenwerfer gets caught out. T-70, an absolute brute at these ranges. Veterancy coming through nicely. Gets the kill on the Kettenwerfer. Volksgrenadiers have to GTFO. Faust connecting, but it won't be enough. M1 and M42 anti-tank gun set up in a nice position, but the Panzer IV just about going to scurry away to safety for now. Oof. Wow, what a tense exchange there for both players. But this Panzer IV, why is he cycling back in? He needs to get the hell out and repair this thing. It's so low. He's bringing it back in again. What are we doing? You know your opponent has PTRSs and like and M42 AT guns. That Panzer IV could die in a heartbeat. It's going to be a T-34. Wah. Well, I just think this is the wrong choice, to be honest. Assuming your opponent ever actually repairs this Panzer IV, this looks terrible. I don't like this at all. Why is this Panzer IV still so far forwards? Like, look at the fog of war for PFC. Come on, for PFC. There we go. No. Yeah. Okay, actually, why can he see so far? What is providing him with so much line of sight? Is it just this unit in the building? All right, fair enough. He's actually safe repairing it here. I take it back. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ah! So the Soviet player going to reman all of their AT guns, and I guess a T-34 with this many AT guns supporting it might not be a paperweight. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he had so much fuel. Why do you go for the weakest of the three choices? Like a Katusha even would have been mayhem on this map, because it's so hard to access a Katusha. You can just keep it back here, protect it with the AT guns. The Panzer IV has to take a deep dive. Okay, now we've got two Panzer IVs. Are you sure you wouldn't have rather had an Su-85, mate? What is this T-34 doing? It's just feeding veterancy. Oh my goodness. This looks pretty bad. I mean, yeah. This is why we don't build T-34s against Axis opponents who already have the tools to beat them. Yeah. Maybe build an Su-85 next time, eh? I don't know. It just seems like I see this a lot. Players are just building medium tanks when they really ought not to be. Medium tanks are really good. I get it. But they're not always the right choice.
One of our AT guns has been neutralized.
Okay, so both players hemorrhaging a lot of units over that last phase of play. Just one squad of Volksgrenadiers remaining. These Axis units in a lot of jeopardy. These Storm Pioneers so low they have to GTFO. There they go. One of the Panzer IVs goes down. I just totally missed that. Got picked off by an AT gun up here in the north. Oh, it's abandoned! Oh my god! This could be a lifeline for the Soviet player in this game. He would love to have a Panzer IV. If PFC was paying attention, he knows he must dive. Looks like he's doing it. He has to get back there, and he has to destroy this Panzer IV before the Soviet player can man it. He just has to. So exposing his Panzer IV to a couple of extra hits here, but that's fine. He's just going to come through, pick off this Panzer IV. There we go. And everything is what? There we go. I thought it survived there for a second. And now everything's fine again. Wow, if that Panzer IV was nicked by Soviet forces, that would have been so bad. But that has been averted. MG42 mounted and ready. That's another T-34. I mean, that seems like good game to me if you're just going to waste all your fuel on another T-34. Your opponent is literally outbuilding you on Panzer IVs. What you need is not to try and match them unit for unit. You need a value engine, and that's what the Su-85 is. It's more of a late game more of a long-term investment. It gathers value over time. Its efficiency increases, like, if you look at its efficiency on a graph, it just goes up and up and up and up and up. It can police Axis infantry of all varieties, of all sizes, gives you a hope in the late game. I guess right now, Stop is thinking, oh, I might lose this game in the next 5 minutes. I need a unit right now that I can push my opponent's infantry around with. But I just don't think... I mean, whilst that would be a nice option, I don't think the T-34 is even that option. It's just going to get killed. It's just going to get picked off. There's going to be another Panzer IV coming in a moment. There's a Kettenwerfer out already. Although, having said that, this Panzer IV is on, like, lowish health. If the T-34 can get a ram, and the Panzer IV is stranded under the arc of 2 M42 AT guns, he might be able to pick off the Panzer IV with the T-34 here. But even then, I'd still rather not risk it. I'd still rather just go for an Su-85 and try and play this game like a confident player, rather than a desperate player. One thing I've learned about RTS, right, is oftentimes, even if you're against an opponent who you know is better than you, who you genuinely feel outmatched by, if you just say to yourself, I'm just going to play as though I'm the better player. So in StarCraft or whatever, you know, this means playing safely. This means, like, you know, doing standard builds, or just trying to not cheesing him, not looking to end the game super fast, just looking to build advantage and gain value over a longer game. That's usually how you play if you think you're the better player. Sometimes that is actually enough, just by playing. Oh dear, yeah. Sometimes that actually is enough to change the way the game looks. That is how I've gotten some of my besterest StarCraft wins. When I'm matched against someone who's way better than me, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to play like I'm the better player. I'm going to scout what you're doing. I'm going to prepare accordingly. I'm going to play for a nice sort of mid to late game. I'm going to get my macro up. I'm going to get my bases running. And I'm just going to beat you by making the smart decisions and navigating the game safely home. And yeah. I think in RTSs that can be a real thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say I think this game's just about over. The Soviet player has no resources really that are spendable, and is about to be up against double Panzer IV here. Doesn't really have much left in the way of anything. Has lost all his infantry. It now has just shocks and 1 M42 AT gun. So it's looking pretty bad. What? Well, the fallback path on these Volks is a bit dangerous. I think if these engineers had focused them, there could have been a squad wipe there. Definitely opportunity for a squad wipe. The sector artillery is going to come down here, so that's probably going to juice up this M42. Yep. Somehow surviving this vicious barrage. Such a crazy ability. Assault artillery. Wow, look, the Storm offizier is at 5 stars now. Crazy. Alright, so this game's over. I'm going to fast forward. There we go, he knows it. Okay, fantastic. Okay, an interesting game there. Interesting game. Stop getting off to a fantastic start, wiping some infantry off of the OKW roster at an early juncture. Always the sign of a game that's going to go quite well, but PFC there, managing to navigate the game back into parity, and then just making smart unit choices. I see Soviet players do the Soviet harakiri by building T-34s when they're just bad so often, and that felt like one of those games. And each time the T-34 came out, my essential sort of commentary and thoughts were, oh no, this is a bad T-34. Hang on, we've got CoH2 versus Royal Hands. That could be okay. Jezelin versus Secretariat. That's on a 7-minute wait, though. Who else we got here? I am inclined to try and get this game because it's also got UKF on it as well. So yeah, my thoughts as each of those T-34s were coming out were that this is basically a terrible unit with a very small chance of doing something good. So I can see that there is a redeeming feature. I can see that it's not impossible for those T-34s to be good, but it feels to me like it's 80-20, like that they're going to be a bad T-34 or a good T-34 on those tables. And when the odds are that bad, like, that's terrible. That's like 4-1 bad to good. Like, I just don't think I just don't think it. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think you should be picking those T-34s. I really don't. So anyway, well, we've got a minute or so here. Ordinarily, what I might do is stop casting and then stitch the videos together when I'm done. But since it's only a minute, you guys can feel free if you're on the YouTubes to skip forward a minute if you don't want to be bored by the sound of my voice. But I'm just gonna fill the air for a minute here. So I guess we can talk about the commanders that these guys have available. So yeah, why don't we go and do that? So CoH2 CEO is going to be running with, okay, test for me. So this is Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine, Elite Armored Doctrine, and Grand Offensive Doctrine. And Royal Hants is running with Royal Engineer Regiment. That's this guy. Special Operations Regiment, I want to say. Am I right? Special Weapons Regiment. God damn. And this guy on the end with the classy facial hair. No, nope, don't remember this guy. Lend-Lease Assault, yeah, so this is the new one who I'm just so unfamiliar with that I just always forget. Lend-Lease Assault Regiment. Oh yeah, this is the one with the Achilles tank destroyer that we saw one game get up to not a lot, which I still have no idea if it's a good unit or not because I've only seen it in one game. Seems like this would be a reasonable map for the M10 actually. So I'm kind of hoping that he might go ahead and pick it. Yeah, could be a reasonable map for all of the other units on this one anyway. So, right, let's go ahead and introduce these players. Spawning in the south, playing as the United Kingdom Forces for King and Country. It's Royal Hants. And playing in the north, playing as the OKW pieces. It's going to be CoH2 CEO. So, yep. Yeah, two fairly storied and sort of big names in the field. These two players ought to give us a good game, but we'll see. We'll see. Even when you get the two best players in the game, sometimes one of them just stomps the other. Sometimes an early game gambit that fails or succeeds can snowball a game very rapidly. But this is why we love RTS. You never know what you're going to see. So it's like some, you know how I sometimes call games like a special snowflake or something because you just never see a game like that again. Have you guys ever watched those videos of snowflakes actually forming? And like you watch the sort of fractal, like extending pattern of the ice as it sort of moves out on its sixfold symmetry, kind of like freezing in real time. I feel like that is actually a really good, like that is somewhat analogous to how RTS games tend to flow. You know what I mean? Like they start off with a broad stem going out in like one of 6 directions, and then they just sort of start branching and changing and creating a shape that we've never seen before. And this is either really profound or completely boring, depending on your point of view. So there you go. There you go. I suppose that applies to everything you've ever heard as well, but especially what I just said. Okie dokie, so we've got 3 squads Tommies into Bren Carrier and 3 squads Volks here for CoH2 CEO. CEO is going to go ahead and pick himself that Elite Armored Doctrine, so he's going to have access to the 221 Command Scout car in the early game. A unit that I am super enamored with. It just has a ton of interesting options, is cheap, it's just so usable. It's the kind of thing that I sort of wish every commander had some form of. Like, just a really cheap early game unit that's very interesting, provides a lot of interesting decisions and options and utility to the player. And, yeah, it's just... I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's one of my favourite pieces of work by the New Balance team, is this 221. So, hopefully, we'll see it here from CoH2 CEO. I believe you need a truck before you can buy one. You don't need a truck. Wow, you don't need a truck. You can just buy one before truck. Huh. Yeah, indeed, there it is. That's pretty cool. So, okay, the Bren Carrier going to be making its presence felt on the field. This actually somewhat playing into the hands of this 221 build. The 221 ought to be a pretty good match, I would have thought, for the Bren Carrier until the Vickers K upgrade completes, at which point I would have thought that the Bren Carrier will be able to shove around the 221. That's got my gut feel on how this goes, but I've not actually watched these two units face off enough times to have that one sort of for certain. These Volksgrenadiers getting really low. CEO going to fall them back, but they are somewhat in jeopardy. 3 squads to... Okay, looks like the Bren a little slow on the pursuit there. I feel like if the Bren pursued there, he could have gone for a squad wipe. But he's not going to get it. Combat here going on in the west. Storm Pioneers, Volksgrenadiers doing their best against these Tommies, and they are doing okay. Storm Pioneers are going to have to fall back here. Whoa, getting so low again. With a Bren Carrier on the field, you've got to be careful with falling your units back this late. Again, if the Bren Carrier had taken this route here and gone up here, could have got some shots on this. Losing your Storm Pioneers in the early game is so painful. So yeah, 2-2-1, going to be moving out on the field here. That'll be detected by Royal Hants in just a second. There it is. So now he knows. And this obviously tells him what commander that CEO is using as well. 2-2-1 looking to get on top of the Bren Carrier. No upgrade being chosen on that thing yet.
Work to construct a new platoon. Come on. Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points.
So it looks like both players contending the fuel resources right now.
Squad numbers back. Crew stand ready.
It's a Wasp build. Alright, we've got the flame projector. Wow, we don't often see this. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he can get done with it.
Enemy threatening a capture point.
2-2-1 going to get stuck in here, gunning down Tommies. He could even go for a second 2-2-1. That would probably look fine, actually, against a flame-projecting Bren Carrier. If your opponent's put this many resources into this unit, that gives you a 1-2-2-1 dedicated for chasing infantry around, and another 2-2-1 which you can upgrade with the radio set. That radio set, quite the price, so you really don't want to expose or lose the 2-2-1 that has been upgraded into the command car.
Infantry firing at us. RE sappers reporting in.
So yep, the boys from Wales going to be moving onto the field here. Pretty uneventful early game, to be honest. Both players kind of scuffling, but maintaining approximately even map control. Why does this Bren Carrier say it's in a fight? It's clearly not. Going to be a mechanized regiment HQ opening from our Axis player. Pretty much what we're used to seeing. Well, the Wasp is about to get its first star of veterancy, so that will be nice. 2-2-1 playing run around the bush here with these Tommies.
We're losing a capture point.
White phosphorus grenades coming down off of these assault Tommies, so that means the Royal Hants has gone ahead and chosen the commander I was hoping to see. It's going to be this Lend-Lease doctrine.
Supply line's been cut.
Well, the Wasp here just getting some good damage on these Volks. And so, you know what, actually, this is quite a small map, so I would love to see Hants... I would love to see him pluck for an early mortar squad on this map, just because we never see the British mortar squad like be used really, because it's only on this one commander, of course. And because this is such a small map, I think it could be very powerful. Obviously, the smaller the map, the more of the map that the mortar squad can fire at, and the easier the mortar is to protect. So, yeah, I think I would like to see a mortar squad get mixed into the roster as this game goes on. But for now, it will be a Vickers gun, and this also makes a lot of sense. Synergizes nicely with a potential mortar later on as well, so perhaps paving the way for a mortar squad to be picked. Axis force is going to be grabbing the fuel and the road here in west. 2-2-1 scout car doing just fine against this Wasp. Storm Pioneers here looking for an opportunity to repair their command car, or their scout car. I suppose it's not really a command car till you buy it that radio set.
Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points. Under fire! Enemy squad has us targeted!
5 kills, 2 stars of veterancy. This Wasp looking pretty nice. Ten kills, 2 stars of veterancy on the 221 though. Yikes, what a brute. Oh, the Wasp getting hung out here, in danger of going down. The 221 can definitely run this thing down if he wants it, and he gets it. Insane. Wow, I think just staying out. A pretty dangerous position there, that Wasp. And now it's going to be a Puma on the queue for CEO. Not sure what I make of this. I think this is going to be the first time I've seen quite an interesting pairing, which is going to be 221 Scout Car with Puma for OKW. And that sort of makes sense. In a way, the 221 providing a lot of the functionality we're used to seeing from a Panzer II Lux, and being bolstered by a Puma. The Panzer II Lux plus Puma has always been one of my favourite unit combos in the game. I often call it the wind-up toys build. And now you kind of have that utility, but at a more budget price. So yeah, and look, he's resolute. Okay, now he gets the radio set. I was going to say he's resolutely not getting the radio set, but now that the Scout Car's at 2 stars of vet, he's gonna pluck for the radio set now, and that makes sense. So now he can garrison points to gain additional resource income. UK forces though going to be grabbing the cutoff. Spicy stuff here from Hans. Very nice. Hans, as I recall, actually something of a UKF specialist. I just seem to, yeah, I think I've like often seen him playing the UKF and just doing well with them, so that's pretty cool. 2 squads of Tommies being upgraded with the Tommy guns and the white phosphorus grenade, so it's kind of quite the pushy roster. M5 half-track also being mixed in here, going to be transporting these lads around, so they can always be in the thick of it, and reinforcing too. So that's pretty spicy. Scout car gets detected here. The radio antenna upgrade is scouted, which makes this scout car something of a priority target. That makes it cost a good, what, 30 fuel or something, and like 250 odd manpower. So quite the pick-off for quite a squishy unit. Puma's on the field though, and that's going to make life super hard for this reinforcing half-track, I must say. That half-track is just a prime target for this Puma, which is set to prioritise vehicles. He could probably turn that off, because there's a lot of infantry around the place here, and you'd love to have that Puma just contributing damage and feeding itself veterancy. And the rate of fire on the Puma is enough that even if an enemy vehicle commits itself or emerges into the fight, the Puma is never far away from getting another shot ready to fire at it. But for now, he will be maintaining it on prioritised vehicle. Did he just lose a squad here? Oh no, he didn't. No, these Volks are still alive. 221 going to be pushing forward here. Puma comes forward looking for blood. Nothing to be found though. Looks like Hans keeping his vehicles out of danger for now. Tommy equipped Tommies, Tommy squared, running forward here and just shoving aside all Axis infantry. The Puma and the 221 will do their best to kite this threat, but their DPS is relatively low at this stage. So the Tommies are able for now to basically take back control of middle of map. They are bleeding out slowly though. These vehicles are going to keep chipping in damage. Well, the 221 will. The Puma is still set to prioritise vehicles.
Damned enemies trying to take a point from us.
Okay, here comes the M5 half-track. And no sign of a quad mount coming. And okay, he doesn't have the munitions. But I think I kind of quite like not getting the quad mount, especially if you know your opponent has a Puma. Wow, quarter-pounder AT gun on the field now. Going to make that Puma have to be scarce here. Love the choice of the AT gun. You know, your opponent's going for a light vehicle strat. So, this makes sense. But yeah, as I was saying, I hope that Royal Hans actually declines to buy the quad mount on the M5 half-track. I know, it's very powerful, but you know what else is powerful at killing half-tracks? Pumas, and Kettenwerfers, and Fausts, and there's plenty of them on the map. So, keeping this as a reinforcement half-track would be pretty cool. And this is one of those maps where even just being able to reinforce your units in this location, like, you are almost on the doorstep of your opponent's base. It's such a cramped, such a claustrophobic map that, yeah, I actually think that this could be quite powerful. So I'm hoping that it is Royal Hans's plan to keep this as a reinforcing half-track. And if it wasn't his plan to begin with, I hope it becomes his plan in response to the fact that his opponent has shown him a Puma. So we'll see. I just think spending what is it, 90 munitions on a very fragile half track when there's a Puma on the map is just a losing proposition. I just don't think. I think you're very unlikely to get your value back there.
Ready to roll.
Kettenwerfer here scrambling to get into position. Where's the 221? It's going to be darting back over here. I wonder if he's going to get it set up to gain additional munitions from this point. I imagine so. Probably why it's angling round at the backfield here. But let's keep our eyes on the combat for now. Phosphorus grenades coming down. Tommies with 5-man squad upgrades and Tommy guns bullying this Axis infantry around considerably. Oh, this Kettenwerfer getting a bit snared up on the retreat. Tech looks like no Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper yet for our OKW player. He's floating a lot of fuel, so I imagine we'll see that soon. He wants to get that Schwerpanzer HQ, I would have thought, quite soon. Doing quite a good job right now is CEO of denying his opponent resources. You can see the fuel has been taken and just no spare British forces to go and take that fuel point and that VP anytime soon. That'll be a squad wipe on some Volksgrenadiers. So nicely put together by Hans. Nicely put together by nicely. Wow, he gets out of there. That is some lucky stuff there for CEO. Those Tommies were out for blood, and they very nearly got it. Wow, somehow the Puma, in a dire position here, finds itself with its engine busted, with a quarter-pounder AT gun in the hood. What? This is pretty dangerous. Since when did Royal Engineers get heat grenades? Okay, wow. Well, that's really good. So UK forces just have an anti-tank vehicle snare on their engineers now. Am I reading this right? Okay, I just didn't realise that. Well, that's a pretty massive change to the balance of the game, and I have to say a very welcome one. UK forces traditionally suffering with a number of issues in the early game, but one of them being the fact that they don't really readily have access to any kind of anti-vehicle snare, which makes playing the game quite hard, if I'm honest. It's a standard piece of kit which everyone needs on one of their early infantry squads. Massive battle coming down here. White phosphorus and incendiary grenades getting exchanged indiscriminately. Much damage being wrought by that white phosphorus grenade, to be honest. Whoa! Oh my god, these Volks are having to fall back through 2 squads of Tommies who are very angry. This could be... yeah, that'll be a squad wipe. Be a squad wipe. Be a squad wipe. Be a squad wipe. Okay, wow. CEO just getting so lucky with these Volksgrenadiers that are getting out of there. But you know what else is also getting out of there? This Kettenwerfer in British hands. So that'll be quite nice. These Storm Pioneers have to die. You can't run through a squad of Tommies with Tommy guns, there we go, on the retreat and live. So, okay. Oh no, he'll lose his Schwerpanzer HQ. Yikes, that's really bad. There'll be no saving that. That's game. That's game! CEO getting comprehensively... smashed. Wow. Sure you can. Just like he had his jaw shattered there by Royal Hans's Tommy squared strategy. I gotta say, I love to see it. Where's this guy's head? Oh, okay, I see it. He's like looking down. It just looked like he had no head. Sorry. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, that gives us time to cast a third game. So let's jump onto the ladder and see what we got. CEO versus Typhaliger. Stop versus Alcoholic. Jew Hunter and Treads, Felix, White Eat. Oh man, I was hoping that we'd catch a game with another couple of top players or something, but well, who have we got in this game? I don't think I can handle a third game in one sitting on Crossroads, so I think we could watch CEO versus Typhaliger playing as Brits, or we could watch Hunter versus Treads on Crossing in the Woods. I'm inclined to give this game a go because I don't know these players. And I really like Crossing in the Woods. Unapologetically, I like this map. Oh, the sun has actually come out. Well, that's going to make the rest of my day a little bit better. Alrighty, spawning in the south, playing as the OKW forces. It is Jew Hunter, who I'm just going to call Hunter for now. And spawning in the north, playing as the United States forces. It is going to be Treads. So, the map here, Crossing in the Woods, anything can happen, and it probably will. Looks like we've got Special Operations... oh, sorry, no, it's going to be Recon Company. Recon Support Company. Here for our American player. And he's already going to be... oh, no, sorry, I thought... because I saw this on cooldown, I thought he'd already called in some INR Pathfinders. He hasn't, but has access, of course, to the INR Pathfinders. Going to be opening with Riflemen, though, as is fairly standard for American players. Rear Ash and Rifleman moving onto the map. For Hunter, looks like we've got Special Operations Doctrine, Elite Armor Doctrine and Ground Offensive Doctrine.
Got a rifle squad waiting for orders.
Let's fast forward until the opening shots are being exchanged. Looks like both players moving out here. And we're going to have some scuffles in the west. It looks like, just because of the way the players have routed their forces, the American player likely to take the early fights. Depends if these Storm Pioneers and Volks in the east of map can get to the fight in time. But as it is, it looks like the isolated Volks Grenadiers in west probably going to be unable to take a fight against their rifles and rear esh. Well, amazingly enough, actually, both players just sort of avoiding each other somehow. So Volks Grenadier is going to reveal themselves here, and we have our first shots of the game fired. Rear Esh in cover will be able to hold on for long enough for their brothers-in-arms to arrive. Here comes the rifleman. Quad Volks here. I imagine we'll have Lieutenant Tech on the way. It's going to be a captain opener. Alright, so something of a departure already. That's good. I am very much interested in seeing a captain opener, especially on this map, where, to be honest, I feel like on this map, where you really do want Stuarts and machine guns. So, I mean, this has to be a flak half-track build, so, I mean, right? Why else would you go for captain this early? So, yeah, we're going to see a flak half-track on the queue once the fuel is there. I believe they cost like 55. Let's just quickly check. 50 fuel, sorry.
Captain just took the battlefield.
Okay, so the captain is here, going to make his presence felt. He can purchase a BAR. So it's fair to say, actually, that the captain probably has slightly more early, like, muscle just as an actual unit, because you can buy a BAR, which is obviously going to be more effective against infantry than, say, a Zook. Brave Volks Grenadier is going to come in here, just a two-man mission to grab the munitions there. And these two players more or less evenly dividing the map between them. Small scoreline discrepancy starting to open up USF in the ascendancy, but that's kind of what we're used to seeing. A fifth squad of Volks. Okay, that represents slightly more Volks than we're used to seeing here from Hunter. Also actually delaying his tech. No sign of a Schwervermacht Schlepper. So he's actually quite lucky in a sense that this is not Lieutenant Tech, because he doesn't have Fausts right now, so a potential utility car and or Stuart would be relatively unpunishable. So he's kind of getting lucky that that's not the tech tree we're seeing. Certainly a utility car could have been on the field by now, and that would have been bad times for these Volks Grenadiers without Shreks. Storm Pioneers get stuck in at optimal range here, but this is a lot of riflemen. Wow, actually, nearly getting a squad wipe. Whoa. Okay, these riflemen are going to get out of there. Actually forcing a ton of American squads back. Taking a lovely fight here as Hunter. Going up to 6 squads of Volks. Alright, he's doing something weird. This is Volk spam as we've never seen it before. Okay, that could be a dead Volk. He's got one more pixel to give. Okay, he's going to be alright. He's going to be alright. Gets that Volk out of there. This is a lot of Volks. Okay, now we see a Schwervermacht Schlepper, and with this many Volks, I kind of feel like we might be about to see a battle grip at HQ. This is so many Volks. I've got to say I kind of like this. INR Pathfinder is going to be joining the roster here for Treads. So the elite marksman unit going to be out on the field. Decoy barrage. Huh, that's pretty cool. Man, I just don't know the American forces, like, or any of their unit abilities at all. And the setup beacon, which allows them to reinforce paratroopers, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. Alright. So here, the INR Pathfinder is going to be trying to take on 9 Volks Grenadiers. That's probably too much of an ask for them. They are actually trading for damage, which is risky. Massive scrum going on in mid. There's a lot of American rifles, but I mean there's a lot of German rifles on their way to the front. Epic stun grenade coming down off of these Storm Pioneers, but won't really be enough to turn the tide here. Nice incendiary grenade coming down as well. The captain almost running in there. Actually, he is getting a bit toasty. Yep, one of his dudes gets burned to death there. These Volks turbo low, focus fire coming down, and we've gone from 6 to 4 Volks Grenadiers, so hemorrhaging some here. Whatever Hunter was up to with this 6 Volk opening, he's had his roster trimmed down to just the regular 4 Volks that we're used to seeing. So getting, I mean, that's a pretty bad start to be fair, isn't it? And it's a mechanized reg opening, not as I had hinted earlier, not a battle grip opening. Some sort of urban camo on this 3/4 ton ambulance. I don't think I've ever actually paid much attention to the driver.
The capture point is under attack.
It's just been a fairly straightforward game, just infantry-based skirmishes. Normally you expect to see one player or other go for some kind of a vehicle to put some mobile pressure on, but anyway, it looks like we've got a spearhead of 10 riflemen going to be marching on through, going to try and get this cut-off point. They probably will. Spots his opponent's tech, so that's nice to know about. Panzer II going to be constructing in that building right now. And, oh no, this is annoying. These riflemen are actually not cutting off this cut-off, so... And he's going to take the early fallback, kind of knowing that trading at that range against Storm Pioneers is seldom going to be profitable, and even if he forces the Storm Pioneers back, he probably won't have enough time to decap that that cut-off.
Our supply lines have been cut. Americans are making a push.
So Greyhound. Oh! Okay, yeah, of course. Alright, so that makes a lot more sense. Okay, so alright, okay, so if you go for the Recon Support Company, of course, a lot of the utility that would be provided by a utility car actually is provided by the M8 Greyhound. And so if you go for the Recon Support Company, then that makes it much more appealing to go for a Captain Opener, because you still have access to a mobile, punchy light vehicle. You know, actually, the M8 Greyhound, obviously, I'm just thinking out loud, I'm sure you guys all know this, but I'm still catching up mentally, but the M8 Greyhound represents kind of a fusion of the Stuart and the utility car, so the only thing you're really missing out on is the 50 cal. But apart from that, if you pick this commander, you can go Captain first, and you kind of get all of the features of the Stuart and the utility car and the Captain tech units rolled all in. So this is pretty smart stuff. I actually really like what I'm seeing here from Treads. This is not something which I'd considered myself before. How much does the Greyhound cost? Like 60 fuel, 280 manpower. Yeah, that's totes reasonable. Hey, he could even grab another. American forces are just being super dominant right now. This doesn't. I mean, look at the west of map. That is a lot of points that are being captured over there. Panzer II is over here in the east, trying to get something done. But the M8 with careful micro ought to be able to beat this thing, right?
Big step off is coming.
Wow, the M8 actually gets greater sight range as a Vet 1 ability. Is that right? Yeah, that seems really useful. This is 2 M8s. This is what I was on about. He can get a second one. Oh, I love it. Love it. Get out of here, Panzer II. Okay, he's going to get Fausted. This is risk. He's going to get... Whoa, I don't know about this now. He Fausts the wrong one. Surely you Faust the one that's wounded in the hopes that the Panzer II can finish it off. But no. Okay. All right. So now we've got a stricken M8 back here. His brave friend just, like, heroically abandons it. You have to move this unit. What are we doing? Oh, was he, like, stuck on that somehow? Okay. Okay, so there's infantry-based combat going on in the west, but I was just keeping my eyes on that interesting battle between the Panzer II and the two Greyhounds. Alright, oh, that was really cool. So I presume you can just hop the vehicle crew out and just repair these wherever you fancy it. But yeah, 2 M8s represents super mobile, super worrying force. Once the 250 cals are finished on those things, they could be really slippery and hard to catch and prevent a real threat to all this Axis infantry. So we've got a Puma on the queue from Jew Hunter, and that makes a lot of sense. The Puma just bigger, harder, faster, meaner than the M8 Greyhounds. I don't know about faster actually, but definitely a lot of those words. And why are these Greyhounds? Why is this? This one is this? Where's the? Oh, okay, all right. So I think he was repairing here and had to climb the crew back in. I worry that these Greyhounds are just like out here with no support over in the eastern map though, because if he loses one of these Greyhounds, this build starts looking a little bit shaky. So I'm hoping he doesn't. Somehow some brave riflemen going to grab this cutoff, which is massive. Look how many resources that's cutting off. I'm just going to like crack the tack. Look at that. He's cutting off 1, 2 points, 3 points, and a fuel point. Very nice. Do they still have the canister shell? Yeah, they do. Wicked. Yeah, oh, I'm loving this. We caught some Greyhounds in the wild. Greyhound versus Puma. Here we go. So the Puma's going to announce itself here. Start chewing into these riflemen. Just feeding itself a bit of veterancy, really. You know, I would love it if the Puma had an upgrade. Like, I don't know what upgrade you could put on a Puma, but if it had an upgrade, that would be really cool. Seems like it's one of the very few vehicles that actually just doesn't have an upgrade. So, no sign of... Oh, okay, no, sorry, here we are. So, Schwerpanzer HQ just coming up now. Puma going to be holding the bridge here, but that is a lot of riflemen. He doesn't want to get himself tagged by an AT grenade. Storm Pioneers get wiped. That was Storm Pioneers, right? Yeah. Storm Pioneers get wiped here by the Greyhound. Oh no, possibly these Volks going to get wiped as well. Greyhounds, you just can't mess with them, can you? With the MG and the cannon, they represent considerable DPS against infantry targets. Oh no, now this is a lot of riflemen as well, chewing in. Somehow this Volks Grenadier squad survives, but that was pretty damn close. Now the Axis player confronted by a substantial United States force on the doorstep of his base. The Puma gets tagged by an AT grenade, but it ought to be fine for now. But he has to be careful, man. Even having the Puma in this location, if there were 2 Greyhounds lurking here, they could come in and try to do something about this Puma. Oh my goodness. He's being forced to give so much ground to this American infantry. Again, grabbing the cutoff here as it treads. Looking for more. Going to grab this point here as well. That would actually cut everything off. So, I mean... Yes, the Americans rather have cut our supply lines, and these Greyhounds are just out on the map policing infantry, catching a Faust but just vetting up nicely, and there's no real threat. There's no Kettenwerfer. I mean, Fausts alone are unlikely to cobble together a kill on these Greyhounds. So, yeah, just going to be hopping out the vehicle here, getting some repairs done. Greyhounds doing Greyhound things. I always have liked the Greyhound, if I'm honest. Like, the few times I played US Forces, it was back in the day. Do you guys remember when the canister shot was actually broken and it would just vaporize all infantry, like, around where you clicked? So if you saw an Axis infantry squad that was like sufficiently clustered up, it was just a guaranteed squad wipe. Like, if the models were close enough together, it would just be like, yep, those guys are dead. Nice, on to the next. Like, they promptly nerfed the Greyhounds, like... And that makes sense. Ah, Puma here, getting the better end of this Greyhound. The engine is destroyed, and that will be a kill. We saw the tungsten round coming out of the Puma. Not convinced that that was necessary, but anyway, you're going to be using it. Oh, going to have to pop the vehicle smoke here on this Puma to sneak away from this M1 anti-tank gun. So mixing in the M1, a luxury provided by going for this captain build, and I do like that a lot. obviously the M1 actually supports these Greyhounds really nicely, but getting the kill on one of the Greyhounds, vetting up the Puma, very nice stuff. This is going to be a 2-star Puma. And at 2 stars, a Puma starts being a threat to Shermans and medium armor, and that pretty much describes all of the remaining vehicles that this American player can choose. Of course, he doesn't have the Pershing on this commander, and to be honest, even a Pershing you can pick away at with a 2, 3, 4-star Puma. Like you can get damage, you can get veterancy off of a Pershing, no worries. So yeah. I mean, definitely. Oh my god, somewhere another squad of Volks has died. This Axis roster is just too small. He's down at 42 supply now that these these Obersoldaten have just finished. He's down at like 41 supply under, well, only 56. But I mean, look at the top right, look at the top left. Look how multifaceted and like, oh no, he's gonna lose the Volks. That's basically the game. You can't lose those Volks. Oh, that's a shame. I mean, that now it is desperate. Seemingly Jew Hunter just not the best at keeping his infantry alive this game, and I appreciate that it is difficult, or at least it often feels very difficult when you're playing against USF, because all of their units just have such high DPS, all of their infantry at least, and through the early and mid game, the American faction really does rely on its infantry. I mean, yes, they also have access to possibly the best light tank in the game, and a really good light vehicle in the utility car, which they can use, but oh, the cluster mines! The cluster mines! Okay, you can just go ahead and leave this game now, I think, Jew Hunter. I think you would have seen enough by now. This is just so desperate. I'm going to fast forward. There's no coming back from this. The Schwerpanzer HQ gets like sieged down by the M1AT gun, and I feel like at this point Jew Hunter is just seeing how much he can annoy his opponent before leaving the game. Just going to make him waste as much possible as time, and that's fine. That is your right as an RTS player, and often, as I say, often that is a healthy exercise, because it's only by trying to see how far you can push your opponent against hopeless odds. Often that's where you actually learn things, develop skills, become better, and improve your game as an RTS player. So I think that's absolutely fine. Cluster mine's going to come down here, and oh my god. Oh my god. I thought he was actually going to get that Puma. Alright, yeah, so anyway. Well, he's rebuilt his Schwervermax Schlepper. He's got, like, some more... Oh, loses some Storm Pioneers there. Blah, 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 blah. Everything dying. Somehow still in this game. Schwerpanzer HQ constructing here. Actually manages to get that one finished. Upgrades Panzer Authority. Going to start using the flat cannon there to hold this position. Still somehow in this game. Only at 258 under 365. Puma here doing its best to kite against hopeless odds. Sherman on the queue here for the American player. Vehicle smoke gets used to preserve the Puma. You know what, actually? Why do I ever bother casting games at normal speed? I should just cast at 8 times speed all the time. That way I could cast 8 times as many games every day. So what was that? Was that some Volks? Yeah, I think some Volks just got massacred. So still just continuing to hemorrhage squads, still firmly under the heel of the American jackboot here. That'll be another squad of Volks down. Sherman coming in handily there for the block. And Jew Hunter just stubbornly refusing to leave this game, as is his right, but I don't think there's any hope of victory here. The Sherman and the 2 M1 anti-tank gun's going to firmly focus down his tech. And that will be that. Jew Hunter finally, after having been completely savaged in this game, has seen enough. Yikes. Wow. I don't know, an interesting day of games here today. Still none of the super top tier names, and to be fair, no super top tier games either. Bit of a shame, but I mean, still interesting to get to see some unusual tech in the open here. We got to see Sturm offizier doing really well. We got to see Greyhounds look really strong. And we got to see Royal Hance's Tommy-toting infantry do really well as well. So nice to see some slightly left field builds. I feel like there was not one single game that was played today which you can point at and say, oh, that was super meta. I've seen like a load of games like that one. I feel like we saw quite a lot of build diversity and interesting strats, units, and techniques. Sadly, none of the games super close or indeed particularly long. Not a bad thing in itself, but that's actually been the story for the last couple of days that I've cast. So I would be up for seeing some closer games. But that's okay. You don't always get what you want, and definitely in RTS, that's just often the way. So, yeah. I I feel like I haven't really scratched my Company of Heroes 2 itch. I want to go ahead and cast more, but unfortunately, I've got to go and get a got to go ahead and get on with my life. So I'm going to go and do that. But I'll be on tomorrow, most likely, casting another batch of games then. So I very much hope that you'll be joining me then. And this for now will be Magpie842 signing out.